Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to Xbox On. Now, some of the games that we've been playing recently have had some really cool twists in them, just like the spy mission in Call of Duty World War II.
So it's got us thinking about other games which have completely taken us by surprise, by totally mixing things up. But be warned, there will be a few spoilers in this video. Let's take a look.
You know what you're going to get from Call of Duty until you don't. Most of the time, this is a series about giving you a gun and an eternally itchy trigger finger. If COD was a color, it would be gunmetal grey. If it was a dish, it would be bang bang chicken. Even during quieter moments like Call of Duty 4's famous Chernobyl sniper mission, you're still viewing the world down the barrel of a high-powered firearm. And that's why Call of Duty World War II's Liberation mission is such a welcome change of pace. The premise is that you're a French resistance fighter trying to undermine Germany's presence in Paris. To do that, you're going to need to enter the heart of their operations and do some skulking about. It starts with you reviewing your dossier in the back seat of a car. If you don't get your cover story down, Nazis will smell a rat. So, for now, your name is Gerda Schneider, you're from Hamburg, and you're really into Bratwurst. Anyway, as you try and link up with an inside agent and find a way to swipe a commander's documents, Gestapo thugs will corner you and question your identity throughout. For once, you have to rely on quick thinking rather than guns to save you. Of course, it all ends up in bloodshed anyway. It always does.
When you think of South Park Stick of Truth, there's probably a lot of things that come to mind. Maybe it's the obscene language, or the anal probing, or the Nazi zombies. I mean, those things will stay with you for a while, especially the probing. For me, the part that always springs to mind is when you go to Canada, and that's basically because it was such a complete shock and change of pace. Maybe not as much of a shock as the probing, but our producer is beginning to shake his head in a disapproving way, so I'm going to stop mentioning that now. South Park Stick of Truth perfectly mimics the TV show when it comes to style. Looking at this footage, you'd be hard-pressed to know whether it's the TV show or the game. However, it all messes with your head and does a total 180 the moment you get to Canada. The game suddenly switches to a top-down, pixel-style, old-school adventure. It's perfectly nostalgic, including turning into a boat when you cross the water, retro music, and old-school icons to show locations. It's totally unexpected and is a welcome change of pace to all that obscene behaviour and probing that you've been subjected to so far. Sorry, last time I promise.
It's time for a blast from the past now, quite literally, because Half-Life 2's gravity gun is a thing of destructive beauty. Throughout the game, you use the gravity gun to fling a vast array of small objects. You know, paint cans, planks, and the occasional saw blade. It's a physics-based weapon turning innocuous everyday objects into instruments of death. Anything can kill you if it's traveling fast enough. That's my motto. When you get to the Combine's base, however, everything changes. In trying to take the weapon from you, they inadvertently charge it with dark energy and ramp up its power considerably. You're now able to chuck around fully grown men and probably a dolphin if you saw one, but there aren't any dolphins here. There are two ways to interact with hostiles using the super gravity gun. Either draw them over and hold them out in front of you, whilst you look for something awesome to throw them into like a solid wall or a massive drop, or unleash a concentrated blast of pure physics to send them flying. You can also rip monitors off surfaces, grab security cameras, and manipulate balls of pure energy. Gravity hasn't been this vindictive since it conspired to drop an Xbox Elite controller on my toe.
When it comes to shocking twists, they come none more shockinger than when your entire character changes. Just as you're getting comfy in one body, you're suddenly wrestling with a new skin suit. And this kind of portrayal was no better felt than in Metal Gear Solid 2, where a twist in the opening hours left us feeling confused and sobbing for our precious Solid Snake. Snake! 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 What makes this switcheroo such a shocking gameplay twist is that there was no hint of what was to come. You start the game off as Solid Snake during the tanker incident, which, clue in the title being an incident and all, goes bottoms up. Literally. Next thing you know, you're controlling a blonde guy who possesses none of the gruff charm of Solid Snake and even has the cheek to say his code name is Snake. What the hell? dude, we're not blind, you're quite clearly some total randomer. Many fans were left distraught when it became clear you weren't going back into control of the original Solid Snake anytime soon. In fact, the rest of the entire game is played as Raiden, aka the Snake Imposter. I for one began to warm to this pathetic replacement of my beloved Snake, but many MGS fans were pretty angry at Hideo Kojima for doing this crazy gameplay twist. Of course, it's not the only game to pull a fast one. Remember the uproar when the Master Chief was pushed out of the spotlight by the Arbiter in Halo 2? And who can forget the heartbreaking change of character at the end of Red Dead Redemption? Can you think of any other sudden character switches? Let us know in the comments below.
Next up, we have some temporal displacement, or in other words, messing the heck out of some time. Yes, it's another shooter that turns into a totally different game for the length of one level. The mission in question is Titanfall 2's Effect and Cause, and starts off with Cooper and BT arriving at a mysterious research facility. It appears to be abandoned, overgrown with plants, and half buried under debris, but that's only in one timeline. In the past, it's all lovely and new again. Using a high-tech glove, you can ball your fist and jump between past and present at will. For example, when soldiers in the past start shooting at you, bounce to the present and they'll be gone. Probably retired and sitting at home doing crosswords. Then again, they're replaced by horrible lizard creatures in the awful, awful present. So it's hard to pick between them really. It's out of the frying pan, into the fire, or the lizard's gaping mouth. It's definitely a challenge keeping track of two different scenarios at once. In the past, you pass by a bunch of lizard beasts being held in cages, but in the present, their cages are ominously empty. You can also use time hopping to solve puzzles, clear some fiery blockage by snapping to the past, and rid the world of laser grids by heading to the future. At one point you drop into a ventilation shaft and have to quickly warp multiple times to avoid flaming debris and spinning fans in both the present and the past. The device doesn't show up anywhere else in Titanfall, so it's completely unexpected. When I played this, I, like clocks all over the world, didn't know what hit me.
What Remains of Edith Finch is truly something else. A haunting, story-driven experience, it tells the story of Edith Finch as she finds out what happened to her incredibly unlucky family as she explores the old family home. Over the years, they've met an unfortunate death, disappearing or dying in bizarre and unlucky circumstances. As she travels around the huge house her family have owned over the years, she uncovers more unsettling stories and fills in her family tree, albeit with a lot of dead branches. What makes Edith Finch's gameplay so incredible and full of twists, however, is how it changes things up with every story. With one girl's death, you'll take the form of a cat, stalking your prey through the trees before eventually transforming into a slithering monster who devours all around it. The next death could see you immersed in a comic book as the story of a horrific home invasion unfolds in a Tales from the Crypt style presentation. A story of a hunting trip gone wrong is told through a series of photographs, whilst what starts as an innocent playtime on a swing leads you to pushing yourself to a horrible conclusion. Each deadly story plays out with a different gameplay twist, keeping the game constantly fresh and interesting. Well, as fresh as constant brutal death can be, that is.
Oh dear.
We're dipping back into the past again for our next twist, but there are no gun-touting soldiers here, only murderous little kids, which, come to think of it, are just as scary really. Tranquility Lane is a virtual reality simulation, and inside it, a kid called Betty tasks you with a series of increasingly disturbing missions. First, you have to make little Timmy cry. You can do this by convincing him that his parents are divorcing each other, or you can just punch him in the face. Then you have to break up a happy marriage by placing lacy underwear on the husband's desk and telling the wife that he's cheating. Then you crush a lady under her opulent chandelier, but your final task is the worst. Don a clown mask and kill everyone. It's not real, but your karma plummets regardless. Tranquility Lane is an unexpected mission for a few reasons. Firstly, it transports you to a different world, it casts everything in sepia, it puts you in the shoes of a child, and it asks you to go on a slasher spree. In a game that's about super mutants, power armor, and filling your pockets with useless junk, this assassination side quest is not what I signed up for, but you know what? I like it. Also, check out the Pip-Boy, which in the simulation becomes a wristwatch. That's a cool watch. I'm just really into watches. So yeah.
There's a piece of DLC that turns Tekken into a bowling game, which for a fighting game is a pretty big twist. For one glorious moment, the fighters call timeout and share a mutual love of this majestic sport. There's no real reason for it other than the developers really liking bowling, I guess. Still, it's surprisingly in-depth. You move with the D-pad, press A to set the throwing angle and A again for the power. And if you're anything like me, you'll get a strike every time. Zingo! That's what I say whenever I get a strike. Every fighter has their own skill rating with grading for power and spin. Gigas is the strongest with an S+ ranking for power. That makes sense. Have you seen his forearms? Kuma and Panda are also strong ball chuckers. That also makes sense because they're bears. If you want spin, Lily has the best rating. As the daughter of a wealthy oil magnate, she's probably got her own private lane to practice on. Fighters have a line of dialogue for when they knock down all the pins. They use the same taunts from the main non-bowling portion of the game, so it's usually something wonderfully abstract. Here's Heihachi talking smack to some bowling pins. I like when fighters get a foul too because they literally chuck themselves down the lane in disgust. It seems they've taken one too many rage arts to their head. The whole thing is just absurd. What next? Tennis in Tomb Raider? Golf in Gears of War? Actually, yes please, somebody make that happen.
This entry is for anyone who's ever fantasized of consuming a plant to trigger a playable hallucination in which you think you're an animal. Granted, that's quite a specific fantasy, but hey, Xbox On is a judgment-free environment. Now, this plant is in the Xbox One version of the game. You won't find it in the Xbox 360 version. When you locate the peyote plant in question, a prompt comes up telling you to hit the D-pad to eat it. Do so and your character passes out before waking up in the body of an animal. You can now become a cow, a mountain lion, a seagull, complete with the power of poop, and even a freaking hammerhead shark. Whoa, I've just beached myself. Best of all, there are 7 breeds of dog. 7! There's a poodle, a pug, a border collie, and my favorite, a kindly golden retriever, or as I call them, angel dogs. I want to pet myself. The Rottweilers are the most vicious though, as you can see, although they're not so good against bullets. What's good is that people still react to your animalistic presence in the game world. Fly over the prison as a pigeon and you'll get a wanted level. Bound up to a civilian growling and they may open fire. There's an important life lesson in that actions have consequences, even if you do think you're a rabbit.
Okay. What the hell? Even if someone told you that you become a blob at the end of Inside, you probably still wouldn't have pictured this. Basically, at the end of the game, your consciousness binds with a bizarre human experiment. That of a bunch of people fused together and suspended in some sort of fluid-filled tank. It gives a new meaning to plus-sized. At first, you think the blob is hostile. Let's be honest, most things are hostile in Inside. But no, as you rip the wires keeping your poor squishy ball in place, it repays the favor by giving you full control and helping you break from its chamber. When you see this, the watching scientists drop their clipboards and scatter in sheer spectacle-shattering terror. Don't trip over your lab coat, Poindexter. The fun doesn't end once you've escaped. Now, in your blobby form, you can rampage through the facility, throwing crates and crushing science dweebs. That'll teach you to experiment, you fools. You civilization-advancing fools. For I am Blobman. Hear me go, blob, 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 blob.
So there we have it, some games that have some really cool twists in them. Do make sure to let us know what your favourite is down in the comments below. And if you are new to the channel, do hit that subscribe button as well so you don't miss out on any future videos.
And don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video and check out last week's list feature whilst you're at it. We'll see you next time.
Bye.